What's up? It's Zoe here, and this is episode 9 of the Project You series, and we are talking about time management. Sounds really boring, and yet so important and critical. And today we're covering some of the key hacks that I've learned along the way that will be useful for you. All right, let's go. So much has been written about time and activity management. Gurus galore, resources abound. So what can we learn that's different and new and useful? Well, maybe nothing new, and yet some important, useful things can be of use to you. So let's just double check and see if you've got the fundamentals going for you when it comes to time and activity management. These are a couple of the ones that I put in place to help me manage an incredibly diverse workload and competing priorities. And I teach these to my clients as well. The first one is a concept I learned 20 years ago when I was first training as a coach. And it's called minimizing buckets. Minimizing buckets. What are buckets? Buckets are places where you have things that you need to do. They are triggers for activities. Example of buckets are your email inbox. And then with social media, we've got all of your social media platforms that have alerts of comments and etc., feedback on your posts. Those are actually little buckets of things that you need to respond to too, or need in quotation marks, can trigger activity. Your physical mailbox is a bucket. What else? We've got your phone messages, your text messages. It's overwhelming, right? I always forget that I've got LinkedIn messages. Just thinking about it now, I've got messages on my phone I need to reply to. We want to minimize those things. Make it easy as possible. Have as central as possible a processing center. Now, some of these things are not easy to centralize. And yet, if we inform the people around us, say, for example, you don't like listening to voice messages, let your contacts know in your voicemail message you don't listen to messages that they're better off texting you if that's your preferred mechanism, or emailing you, or whatever it is. So minimize buckets is the first time management tip. Number 2 is map your week. Yeah, have a template for how you want your ideal flow of a week to happen. Book in key chunks of like activities. So, for example, I have my map of my week is pretty simple these days. Monday is for client contact, so talking to clients and prospective clients. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is generally doing client work, so facilitating, training, coaching, that kind of thing. And Fridays is for intellectual property development. That is the key flow. So I do the thinking on Fridays, I do the outreach on Mondays, the delivery on the 3 days in between. Now, it doesn't mean that it absolutely happens like that every week. And yet, it makes sure that the big rocks, the big responsibilities get addressed over a period of time. So that's map your week. That's number 2. Tip number 3 is chunk your tasks. Chunk your tasks. That means doing similar tasks together to leverage momentum. So don't just do one email here and there. Do them in a whole section. Or if you need to do writing, as I do, like I need to write a newsletter and then I need to write a social media post, do that all together so you get into the rhythm of doing that like-minded task. So that's chunk your tasks. Number 4 is this reminder that when you say yes to something, you say no to everything else. So choose wisely. We don't get time back. It's not a renewable resource. So if you're going to commit to something, just realize that you're saying no to everything else that could go in that time slot. All right. That was number 4. Number 5 is use a command center. This is a central place for all tasks, not scattered Post-it notes or scraps of paper with lists on it. Everything on your task list should have a start date and should be scheduled. That's rigorous processing, a rigorous command center. If it's on your task list and it's been there for 6 months without a deadline, without a start date on it, maybe delete it. Ask yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen if I got rid of this out of my command center? If it's in your command center, it means that it must be done. Therefore, it's worthy of having a scheduled start date and finish date on it. All right, was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Number 6 is reverse engineer your activities. I love this. I start with the very big picture, my 100 years on the planet, if I should be so lucky to get that many. How do I want to be able to look back from 100 years from my 100th birthday and say, yeah, that was a life well lived? That's the big picture. And then you break it down into decades. So what do my 90s look like? What do my 80s look like? What do my 70s look like? What do my 60s look like? What do my 50s look like now that I'm into them? So I have a decade set of intentions. And then a year. So each year of 10 years goes quickly. So what do I want for my 51st year? What's that looking like in the contribution to my 50s on my way to my 100th plan? And then from that year, a quarterly plan. What are my projects for each quarter? And then from that, a weekly plan. What are my key deliverables this week in service to the quarter? And then a daily plan. What are my top 3 actions today that are serving the week, that are serving the quarter, that is serving the year, that is serving the decade, which is serving the life? Reverse engineer your activities. And number 7, I think that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, number 7. Tip number 7. Use the rule of 3s. Thank you, Peter Cook, from his book, The New Rules of Management. It's the rule of 3s is this, 3 big projects a year, 3 projects for a quarter, 3 priorities for the week, 3 must-dos for the day. And that helps you rigorously prioritize. If you're only going to do 3 things, what are the 3 most important things to do? Because a lot of productivity is about what you say no to. And by having just 3 things that you can do and focus on, it helps you clear away the clutter and the distraction to get working on what matters most. All right, so those are my top time management tips. Enjoy. I would love to hear which one resonated the most for you. Send me an email, zoe@innercompass.com.au. Leave me a message on social media in one of my social media buckets, and I look forward to hearing from you. In the meantime, live well, lead well.